They were joined by Jordan Menard, a legendary marketer who's worked with brands such as Diff, eyewear, Robert Kiyosaki, Sam Evans, and more. Today we're covering the exact Facebook ad setup he uses after iOS 14.5, Wallmart ads and Amazon ads, and how he sees the future of media buying. Now let's get right into the podcast. Hey, what's up everyone? And today we're joined by someone whose ad you've seen 100% without knowing. Jordan Menard, how are you doing today, man?
Good, man. It's great to be here. I've been wanting to come on this podcast. I've been seeing some of the clips you've been dropping on Twitter, and you got some hitters on here. So it's really an honor to be here.
Yeah. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. It's an exciting time. It's good to connect. We met at Geek Out, like the first time I heard about you, I was in Clubhouse with Nick Shackelford, and he told me about like you scaling ads for Sam Evans. You've worked with Tai Lopez, Robert Kiyosaki. Now you're working with a bunch of eComm brands. So you have a lot of dollars behind a bunch of platforms, both in info product space and eComm space. And we just wanted to talk and see what you're doing, what works, what doesn't work, and how did you even get started in that place? So excited to have you on.
Yeah, man. It's great to be here. And thanks for setting the table. It's a pretty good description of kind of who I am and the journey we've come from. But yeah, starting back. So originally, and Rainis, we've talked personally, but, I was in sales, over the phone sales. I had a terrible job at selling this little widget for real estate agents that would go on their website. It was like a home search widget that connected to the MLS. And I had no lead list, no nothing from the company. I just had to show up and do 150 cold calls, just Googling real estate agents. And I would try to sell them that little widget and then upsell them into websites. And within, 90 days, I was the top salesman there, but I hated it. Like I hated it. Before I got into this, I was supposed to be, I was in school at the time to be a lawyer. I was in community college. I was in speech and debate. I had just gotten a scholarship to Southern Illinois, and I was working at this job because I started late. After I graduated high school, I kind of just traveled America, painting houses, doing odd jobs, and then decided I wanted to make money. And so, yeah, I'm in school and I'm working this job I hate. And I know that I don't really want to be a lawyer, but everyone tells me I'd be good at it. I went into speech and debate, was very successful. And so that was kind of where my life was headed. And one night it was late and I was on page like 3 or 4 of the search engine results page looking for clients. And for the first time I had this epiphany. I saw this Google ad and I was like, I don't click those. But the reason I'm seeing it is because people do. And I clicked it and it took me to this black and green, like almost looked like a wireframe website. Like it didn't even look finished. You know what I mean? It looked like it was just like, but it was doing exactly what I was doing. And I was like, here I am like a schmuck going page after page after page. And this dude's just putting his stuff wherever you can see it. I'm going to do that, whatever that is. Like, I'm going to do that. And so I would just work my day job, go to school, and then learn everything I could about ads, even though I was broke. And eventually got a job just by studying and getting my AdWords certificate and stuff like that at a local agency. And then through acquaintances I had met, found out about affiliate marketing on Facebook. So originally my media buying career really started there, I would say, just running affiliate stuff, and realized pretty soon that I wanted to do something different. So went to go work for an agency. While I was working at that agency, I saw a Facebook ad one day and someone had tagged me in the post, and it was like, Jordan, check this out. And it was like, something about like, testing how good of a media buyer on Facebook ads you were. Right. And I had spent, probably, $500,000 to $750,000 on ads at that point, nothing serious, but like, I was so obsessed with advertising. I was so obsessed with media buying. And so I was talking to my friends about it. One of my buddies tagged me in a post. I clicked that, went to like this quiz filled it out, didn't even think about it, press submit, close my computer. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call from Nick Fisher with consulting.com to talk to me about a media application that I didn't even realize it was a job application, right? I just like filled out this quiz. Sam was running like this really cool like lead gen funnel to find people who were good at Facebook ads because he was looking for a media buyer. And so yeah, so I had a call. Nick Fisher hits me up and he's like, "Hey, dude, I saw it came through. You came through this funnel. I was wondering if you had 30 minutes to kind of talk about what was on there." I was like, "Yeah, most definitely." And we got on the phone for 2 hours. It was supposed to be 30 minutes, went 2 hours, just went super deep on ads. And then, yeah, before next, I would say within a month, I had accepted the director of acquisition role at consulting.com and became a one-man Facebook department. That was a really crazy time. I was working with Nick Fisher and Tommy McGill. If you guys are listening to this, shout out to you boys. Much love. And it was amazing. Like me and Tommy were in the trenches every day, him on Google, YouTube, me on Facebook. And we were trying to like beat each other, but also rooting for the other guy because he's your boy, you know? So it's like I see he's got like 30K in daily spend with nice profit. I'm like, I got to get to 40, you know? And it was just super competitive, but also like, that's the bro. So it was a really, really awesome environment. And I think a lot of really good friendships are like that, right? Really competitive, but there's like genuine love and the understanding that there's enough for all of us to eat. So that was a crazy time where I really saw the power of scaling. It was one funnel, right? It was one webinar funnel. And I was, scaling it to like 50K a day in Facebook spend, right? Profitably. It was crazy. And that's where I think a lot of my mental barriers on how hard you could scale ads were shattered. And I realized you could really go hard in media buying once you get it tapped. That was also where I learned for the first time how to scale with manual bids, which I think is an important component of what we do at Motif today. And one of the key skill sets I look for when I hire media buyers. And so a lot of things, were a lot of things that are still important to me today were formed during that time at consulting. And Nick was a really awesome mentor. And Tommy, I still work with him today. So fast forward to today, I started, my own thing after consulting. We've worked with personal brands like Robert Kiyosaki, Tai Lopez, Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, the Morrison Brothers, Agora Financial, the list goes on. A lot of big names. Yeah, huge names, all in the info space. And then when I formed Motif Digital, it was actually a merging of my agency and my co-founder and COO, Zach Duncan's agency, AdLogic. And we became one company with a portfolio that has both, where we have info products and D2C, though a lot of our efforts at Motif now are centered around acquiring customers at scale for D2C brands. And making, we make all the creative in-house and do all the media buying in-house, along with like reporting and stuff like that. So that's kind of my story and how I got here. Sorry if that was a long answer.
It was a good answer. Like, I mean, you're known, like you had the brand long form copy. So you think
long form creative.
Long form creative. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think long form. So
yeah, I do.
That's good. That's good. I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. I mean, one thing that I found very interesting, the media buy quiz. Is it something like you've used yourself, like taking that idea to hire people yourself?
Yeah, most definitely. We're talking about it right now and, designing something that we think fits like the contemporary time of media buying. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. And everyone knows media buyers are always on Facebook because they're in Facebook ads. So if you show them ads, there's a good chance they're going to see it. That target demo spends a lot of time on the platform.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like you've worked with a lot of info product and e-commerce businesses. When it comes to running ads, scaling, how like do you think are they even different? And if so, how are they different? Like how do you approach them differently?
Yeah, so I mean, they're definitely different. I think a few key differences. The first is going to be the sales cycle, right? The sales cycle on info is typically going to be a lot longer than D2C. There's going to be a webinar, there's going to be a VSL, at least a long form sales letter. Whereas D2C, you're typically going to see a landing page, a product page, an advertorial. It's a much shorter process. I think the copy on the ad for an info product is extremely important. I think it's crucial. I think it's one of the biggest things is the actual ad copy. I think for D2C, the media is more important, the video or the image. And I think copy is still very important, but it's not as important as it is in info marketing. It's different. And then, for creative, a lot of the creative on the info side is reliant on the product creator, the personal brand, right? The best Facebook ads for the Wolf of Wall Street are going to come from the Wolf of Wall Street, right? Him recording a video. Whereas D2C, you're looking at, product shots, UGC, it's a much different creative format. And then, just like the whole lead cycle is different. On the D2C side, we've worked with some really big brands, Vessi, Diff eyewear, Hank's belts, Wolex, Amberjack shoes, the list goes on. And in Q4, we actually scaled D2C higher than I've seen info really scale for the most part. So I think there's more scale to a D2C offer that's really converting, has really great creative. I think you can honestly, even after iOS 14, still spend 6 figures a day profitably if Facebook ads is really cracked and you've done all the work on the back end to make that happen.
Yeah. So what do you think D2C is easier? Maybe if like from more technical perspective, like easier, like in quotations, they're both at high scale, like you still need a lot of skill to do that. But is it kind of like getting creative is easier? You can do a lot more tests a lot more quickly, like with info, for example. You do need to write a copy, you need to have someone who can record it, and they need to have a great personality behind that, like with their with the skills and the proof to prove what they've done is good.
Yeah, so I think info, I've heard info described as selling air. I thought that was funny because it's just like you just get a login, right?
Yep.
So that process is much harder than selling something that's tangible, can be shipped to you and you can hold it, right? So just, structurally, it's harder to sell an info product in a lot of ways. And I don't know if either one's easier. There's just challenges with each one that are different, right?
They're different,
they're different. And yeah, I think, platforms like TikTok are going to be much more suitable for D2C plays than info. And yeah, we've just kind of drifted because we have a creative studio and we make creative for our clients. We've really been focusing heavily on D2C. And really what we focus on there is using Facebook, TikTok, anything as a way to acquire new to brand customers. Emphasis on new to brand. And I think new to brand customers for a D2C brand are typically the lifeblood of the business, right? That feeds your Klaviyo list, it feeds your SMS, it feeds everything.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So right now, what are you spending money right now? You mentioned Facebook, TikTok. Are those your biggest spenders? And if so, like what's the spend distribution you see across your clients?
Yeah, would be tough to answer that. A lot of it's still Facebook heavy, right? But we run Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, TikTok, Amazon search, and DSP, right? And some clients have a couple, some clients have all of them, some clients have one of them, right? So it'd be kind of hard to break it down. Typically, we still see Facebook as the main acquisition channel. But I think you're seeing a big shift in spend towards TikTok right now, and rightfully so. It's a very exciting platform. And I think it's, you look at the user base, it's massive. And we're seeing products that I never thought would sell on TikTok convert pretty well. So I think that's we're definitely seeing that as the future. But right now, I think Facebook and Instagram are still the biggest acquisition channels where you can get the most scale And they perform pretty well compared to everything else as well. When you look at, you have to use attribution software today, right? Like you have to, Northbeam, Triple Whale. We recommend both. But yeah, you have to, but Facebook is still that channel.
If you run an e-commerce store and you're looking to generate more revenue with email and SMS marketing, go to agencyjr.com/call to book in a free call with us. It's agency, J as in Jacob, R as in Rainus.com/call. And let's talk to see if and how we can help.
Are there like any trends you've noticed in the last couple of months, like things that are working better that didn't work so well before? Like where is media buying like moving towards to right now in terms of like all the platforms? Like any creative insights and like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think the biggest thing is how do you consolidate and still scale? Right. I think with post iOS 14, the need for consolidation in an account is huge. You need to be running as little things as you possibly can. And so we're looking at a simple setup of like creative testing, remarketing, scaling. That's it. 3 campaigns, super basic, and they all feed each other. I think, especially right now, the question of how do you scale really comes down to how are you testing creative, right? There's ways that different people scale, whether it be lowest cost, manual bids, a lot of campaigns, a few campaigns with high budgets, right? There's different ways that you can scale, but none of those are even approachable until you've got creative testing all the time. Because even when you find a winner, right, and you start scaling it out, that winner's going to die. And it's not going to convert as well after a while. All good ads die, even the best ones, right? Some last for a long time, a year and a half, but every ad eventually dies. So right now, it seems like creative's dying way faster. So we're testing creative all the time, right? And how we like to structure it, we like to organize the angle at the ad set level, right? So like, let's say we're selling a gut test, right? The angle would be like bloating. And maybe another angle would be like stomach ache. And we would test those angles and make creative for those angles that we'd either put in a dynamic creative with like an ABO, like $200 a day, right? With one angle and like a UGC, 3 different hooks, maybe a motion graphic or a product showcase. And either test that like 200 a day ABO and try to feed that creative testing one campaign, like, maybe once or twice a week, not testing too much creative to throw off the entire account, but regularly testing and finding new winners and looking at things like the important metrics, of course, CPA, ROAS, the conversion rate, those key metrics that decide if it can run, but then looking at other metrics like what is the thumb stop? What is the CTR all, right? Is the thumb stop over 40? If the thumb stop's over 40 and the CPA is good, there's a good chance that one might be able to scale. And so really getting intentional about creative testing and looking for not just what gives you good CPAs, but what ads do you think that you can scale? And then that creative testing protocol, I think, it's always been important to test creative, but now it's like we'll get ads that work for 3 weeks and then die. And on TikTok, it's even faster, right? The life cycle's shorter. Creative dies even faster. So it always starts with creative testing. And then from there, or do you have any questions on that, or do you want me to keep going?
Keep going. I'll have one afterwards.
Okay. So once you've found those winners, then it becomes a question of how can you start scaling, right? And typically, like on D2C, we'll run like a DPA remarketing, and that's it. Just a simple DPA remarketing, maybe some like hot or like warm versus hot breakdown of like website visitors versus add to carts if there's like an offer, but pretty typically really, really simple. And then when we look to scale, there's like 2 ways we typically do it. We call this the ROAS Royce method. It's a $500 CBO, 1 ad set, broad, no targeting, and then 4 static ads, our top performing static ads from the creative testing campaign. And we'll let that run for 3 to 4 days and then slowly start inching budget up and pulling new winners from the creative testing campaign into the ROAS Royce ad set, to where we started with 4 ads, but 3 months later, the budget's $10,000 a day, and there's 67 ads in that one ad set, and 3 of them are on, right? So we'll scale that way. Recently, and this would answer your question proper, again, sorry, long form creative, media buying trends on scale, we're seeing manual bids start to hit again, right? They were hitting really hard in Q4. They faded out January, February. We're now starting to see a lot of accounts getting some success with manual bidding again. And again, it's that same process, putting things through the creative testing, putting an ABO. This would be ABO. So the ROAS versus CBO, this would be ABO, like a bid cap and like a $1,000 budget and a bid right around what we want the CPA to be, and seeing what the delivery is, and then, you know, scaling up from there. And those bid caps hitting again, I would say, is a trend that people should capitalize on if they listen to this.
For sure. Yeah, amazing value. So thank you for that.
Yeah, maybe to add to that, what are like, from the creatives you test and from the creatives you see hit, what are the types of creatives you see and the creative trends you see working? Because we were talking with a couple of people. For some people, it's creating TikTok content, repurposing that for Facebook and whatnot. Like, what are you seeing that works?
Yeah. So when we do a creative drop for one of our clients, there's 15 creatives in there, like ads that you can run. And there's 4 main ad types, right? So we think of ads as in like types, like a product showcase ad is like a picture of a product with a cool background or on the beach or something like that. A bumper ad would be like a 15 to 30-second video, motion graphics, call to actions, really cool copy, right? And then like a UGC ad or an MGC, which is UGC we make in-house. It looks like UGC, but it's made by someone who knows how to make ads with a brief. That would be the 3rd type. And then the 4th type would be like narrative ads that are produced with a good script, an actor, you know, it's an ad, but it's really high quality. Think like Dr. Squatch, right? That would be like a narrative ad. So we think of creative in those 4 types, right? What we're seeing work best right now, you know, a lot of accounts that in-house UGC, we call it MGC, Motif Generated Content. I know it's corny, don't kill me. So we're seeing that content hit really hard, but I think it's easy to get caught up in this like UGC trend that's happening right now. People think that you can just go order some videos off Billo and it's all good and they're going to convert well. Unlikely, right? Or another big mistake I see is brands contacting micro influencers, shipping them product, and think, you know, they'll make some content for them and they're like, what is this, right? They run it, it doesn't do anything. It's because they're relying on a content creator to make ads. It's a different skill set. So I think what we see, that in-house UGC hits, but you know, even aside from that, like, don't underestimate the power of like a picture of your product, right? Like sometimes we'll see a picture of a product that, you know, took 30 seconds to create, outperform an ad that we spent $5,000 in production costs making, right? So it's crazy. And I think it's easy to forget that and get caught up in trends, but like really, I think great images are powerful. And then, you know, obviously that in-house UGC does convert really well, and that converts better on TikTok as well.
Good feedback. Like, yeah, so far UGC seems like a king, but it's still, still got to keep testing. Test all the creative types. Don't forget about everything. Don't get caught up because the trend might switch sometimes, or like UGC becomes like, that's the thing with marketers. When something works, marketers take it and they basically fuck it up. They fuck it up. They just milk it until it's dead. And at one point, the sides shift. I mean, kind of like with some people, a lot of people are switching over from Facebook to TikTok, because they're struggling with with Facebook, and now they're trying this new trend, and they're just following that. But going back to maybe like the Facebook stuff, iOS 14, very challenging. Like you did mention attribution software. How are you dealing? Like you did mention the campaign setup, attribution software. Is there anything else you've done that's vastly different than pre-iOS 14 that's helping you scale right now?
Yeah. So I mean, the data loss in platform, when the update first got pushed, I think since that moment, it's progressively gotten worse. It's constantly degrading, right? And Facebook has this data, they just can't optimize on it, or Apple's gonna, kick them out the App Store or whatever. So the data that's in platform, it has become like essentially useless in a lot of ways, right? It doesn't even come close to what's really happening in like the attribution softwares we're looking at. Lots of times it's the opposite. And this never used to be the case, right? Pre iOS, you could always rely on Facebook data to make decisions at least. Now, I really don't think you can. I think that's the biggest change that media buyers need to accept at large. You need to just embrace the fact that attribution software is necessary, and find one that works for you, and then start looking at the right metrics. I think we're really encouraging our brands to identify the true lifetime value for or even 90-day value, right? So we can set a customer acquisition cost and use Facebook to acquire customers at that CAC, at scale. And what we use attribution software for is, what is the 1-day click ROAS for a new to brand customer? What ads are responsible for a 1-day click ROAS that's from a new to brand customer? And we're using attribution software to answer that question. And I have two really so two of my senior buyers are not even using cost per purchase in the platform anymore. They don't even look at it, to the point where one of my buyers, this is insane to me. One of my buyers, I logged into the account. I hadn't been in there for a few days, and I logged in to check how it was doing. And none of the landing, so after view content, none of the standard events were passing. Add to cart, initiate checkout, purchase, value, none of them were passing. And I look, and he had one of the best days he's ever had, right? It was over 21,000 just on this one ad set, and there's no data. And I'm like, I hit him up. I'm like, dude, how did you not see this? Are you literally just not looking at Facebook data? He's like, all I have is ad ID, right? He's just looking at the ad ID, identifying what's responsible for those sales in a third-party platform, and making decisions 100% off that, to the point he's not even looking at data. This is new. We never used to do this. It never used to be like this.
Yeah, like Facebook used to be very reliant. I remember back in the days, you had a lot of agencies, for example, who would just do media buying. They would start working with brands. They would just go in, do media buying as a brand, so kind of put together some content, give it to us, they give it to them, and they can still scale. Right now, it's creative testing has become very important. Attribution is a pain in the ass. Attribution software is a must. As you mentioned, gotta keep the setup on Facebook as simple as possible, just so there isn't a lot of data points in a way, a lot of ad sets, campaigns, which are just going to make things difficult. Yeah. Okay. Good feedback. I mean, one thing that we did talk about as well when we met, you had an interesting media buying platform you were using to generate sales. Amazon is obviously huge, but then, Walmart wanted to take the cake, and you were talking about Wallmart Ads. And you mentioned numbers that just sounded ridiculous. I mean, it's been a long time since we talked about Walmart. Are you still running Walmart? I'm assuming it's a yes.
Yes, we're still running Walmart. That's that platform is it sticks and stones, right? It's super primitive. It's also a first priced auction as opposed to a second price like Facebook. Which was a whole learning curve that threw us for a loop on how to set bids.
What does that mean for us less technical people? What's the difference between first price, second price auction?
Sure. So a first priced auction is an auction where you pay what you bid, right? So let's say that I bid $3, you bid $2, and Rainus bids $1. I would pay $3, you'd pay $2, Rainus would pay $1. A second priced auction is you pay what the guy below you bid, right? So in that same instance, I would pay your bid $2. You would pay Rainus bid, and then Rainus would get the lowest bid, but also the lowest delivery and the lowest quality traffic, right? So that's the game that Facebook and Instagram and most online platforms are second price auctions. That's why lots of times you'll see you place a bid and the cost per conversion is a lot lower than that bid, right? People are bidding higher than the cost per purchase they're receiving. It's because it's a second price auction. First price auctions, the rules are different. And it sounds more straightforward, but it's actually way more difficult to make things work. And so, yeah, but still, clicks on Walmart are like, 20 cents, 30 cents, right? Super, super cheap. And Amazon DSP, the demand side platform, which could be like a whole nother conversation. The CPMs on there are like $4, right? And you're showing on like the Amazon homepage. Amazon DSP has access to Twitch, Thursday Night Football, right? So like these new platforms, these self-service platforms like Amazon DSP and Walmart are in their rudimentary phases, but they have access to such premium placements because the brands are so legit, right? So it's a whole new wave of advertising, and we're still learning it, but it's been fun.
Yeah. So what are the biggest differences in terms of bidding on these platforms? Like, is it more of like a challenge finding the sweet spot for the bid, like kind of like figuring out where the competition is? Because obviously you don't you bid what you kind of like say you would bid. So yeah, how do you go about testing there?
Yeah, so like where the difficulty comes in is a second price auction is a lot more forgiving for high bids, right? So if you bid $70 and I bid 150, I'm going to pay like 80, right? But if that was first price, I bid 150 and you bid 70, right? And you'd be the number two. So it's risky. It's just harder when you don't know, there's like you don't have that buffer. And it's just, and the tracking is bad and the data is limited and the UI sucks and everything has to get pulled out into spreadsheets and right. It's like super annoying. And so the benefit of those platforms are when you get something to work, it's easier to exploit, right? Jem Burrow, who's shout out to Jem, love that dude. We had a conversation about manual bidding and accelerated. He went and applied it to TikTok and broke some shit wide open because that platform is like it's still new, right? You can exploit loopholes a lot easier on those platforms. So that's the advantage, but it's been really tough. And just finding that sweet spot of the bid, playing with bids and optimizations, it has been tough.
Right. So in that case, I mean, I don't know whether this would work or not, but do you kind of like try to create campaigns where you just like bid at different price points and see like where it kind of spends, and based off that you figure out like where the competition is, where you're at, and like how much you're overpaying in a way?
Yeah, 100%. But there's like a 4-day data delay.
Oh my God.
So it takes forever to do anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It'll get there, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting about Walmart is a lot of shoppers that buy with Walmart online, I think it's like 40% of them, they pay online and go pick it up in store. So it's interesting to see like these new, like Walmart moving online, Target will be there, and you'll be able to run ads as sellers in all of those ecosystems. And then, yeah, it's exactly what you said, testing different bids, finding delivery, conversion rate, everything like that. But working with a $4 delay and brand budgets can be a complicated process.
Yeah. So do you see, are there kind of like types of products that you see perform better on Walmart and these kind of like new ad platforms? Like, someone has, I don't know, like a shoe, like, is it, for example, like, are there product types that perform better and product types like you shouldn't test that might be too high or AOV or whatever it might be?
Sure. So, on Amazon, which is where, we're spending a good amount, a 20 to 100 is a great price, right? I think 40, 50 is like an ideal AOV. But some products low ticket convert really well. At 20, the cost per clicks can kind of make it tough. You have to have high conversion rates. But I would say like, products we're seeing a lot of success with would be like beauty products. There's a dry shampoo that's doing really well. We're talking to a protein brand who's doing like, I think it's like 1.2 per month on Amazon. it's crazy, right? So those types of products do well. CPG do really well, but really any brand that has a good product, there's so many searches on Amazon. It's incredible, right? 1 in 2 product searches happen on Amazon. So it's a massive amount of traffic. So a lot of products will fit, but those beauty, CPG, protein, you know, those types of products, I would say, probably have an edge.
Yeah, gotcha. So right now in the media buying space, where do you see everything going? What are kind of like maybe your predictions for the future? What do you think is going to happen? Or like, I mean, obviously right now the whole buzz obviously is TikTok. A lot of people are talking about you need to spread your acquisition channels out. What are your predictions on like where the whole market is going?
Yeah, I
Broad
mean,
question.
yeah, that is. So I think on one hand, media buying is an amplifier, right? It's really just an amplifier. You bring things to it and it amplifies it, right? So brands that are winning right now are good brands, right? The brands that are scaling right now are good brands. They know they have a lifetime value. They know their returning rate. They have an idea of what their customer acquisition cost should be. They have all of these things on the back end nailed down. And I think moving forward, we're kind of seeing the sunsetting of the get rich quick drop shipper, right? Now, there's people that will still make it work, but it's way harder to do that, right? It's really about building a solid brand. And media buying is the amplification of that brand on whatever platform you're on. I think to do it well, you need to invest in creative heavily. You know, the brands that we're working with that are spending, you know, the 20, 30, 40K per day still, you know, they're testing, you know, 50 ads a month, right? Like just an unbelievable amount of creative that they're churning out, different angles, different, you know, at a high level, and they're testing different offers, different landing pages, right? Everything before media buying is, you have to just up your game, I think. And then media buying ultimately comes down to how well can you test creative and how well can you scale it? Can you consolidate, and can you use other platforms, other data attribution platforms like Northbeam to really identify which metrics are important, which metrics are coming from what ads, and scaling those winners. So I really see it as you know, the future is just about doing everything before media buying the best. And I think what we're going to see will be things like digital products upon purchase, and brands providing like NFTs to their client or to their customers, any type of digital product, right? I think we're going to see a rise in that to build community and build loyalty. And, you know, we're seeing a big benefit in communities already, right? I think you look at like Obvi, right? Their meteoric rise, and a lot of it was building that massive community. And so those types of things, I think, are becoming more important by the day. They're where you need to be. And then the brands that are really winning are making landing pages, testing offers, you know, always testing things and improving new angles on creative to really find that sweet spot and find those winners that can scale.
Well said. Well said. Now, let's say, Jordan, I'm a brand. I want to scale. How do I get in touch with you? How do I get to work with Motif?
Yeah, so you can send me an email at jordan@motif.digital. Would love to talk. We can go through an audit process where we really dig into everything from your Facebook ads to your CRO, you know, your website conversion rate, your AOV, LTV, everything. We dig really deep into it. And then, you know, from there, you know, we come up with a plan. Usually, I think, to your point, a lot of agencies were just media buying, right? And I think that era is kind of ending. I think you need to test creative all the time, and your media buying agency should be making that. And we believe, you know, the person closest to the problem is probably the one with the solution. So we have our creative strategists meet with our media buyers weekly, going over in depth into these accounts and figuring out what content we want to make. You can also find me on Twitter, Jordan R. Menard, there all the time. I think that, man, shout out to D2C Twitter. How awesome is D2C Twitter?
Yeah, it's like I spend too much time on Twitter, but I'm
So do
justifying
I.
it by the people you meet, the threads you read. It's amazing. Instagram is
100%.
flexing. Twitter is like it's actually value.
It's value. Yeah, yeah. Couldn't agree more. And like you, like that thread from Avi that I just read a few days ago, it was just insane to like so much value packed into just a simple, easy to read thread. And I think the community is a lot more active there compared to like Instagram or Facebook. Like
Yeah.
Facebook groups are trash, man. When's the last time you really
Now,
had
now they're
a
back.
lot of value from a Facebook group?
The only group really, Iron by Alex Becker, for like info products. It's like Alex Becker made too much money with crypto, so he's not active in the group, but the community still is active, which is very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that's
That's probably the
awesome.
only one.
Right, right. I've
Nothing
heard
else.
really good things about Iron.
Yeah, it's really good, really good. Highly recommend if someone's working with info products, whether you're building a course or anything. It just teaches you all the fundamentals. And I think like with the people we've worked with who've scaled programs, like it was the foundation they really needed. So yeah. Okay, so maybe Jordan, to wrap up this episode, is there anything else you'd like the listeners to know? Any kind of like lessons you'd like to share with them before we wrap it up?
No, man, I think that's it. I think the biggest thing I would say is just reminding brands, use Facebook as an acquisition tool. Use those platforms as a way to bring new to brand customers. If you can focus on that as opposed to just making ads look good in platform, the bottom line is going to grow. We've been seeing some crazy stuff with remarketing campaigns that have like a 5 ROAS in platform, but in attribution softwares are revealing that it's like a 0.2. Right. And the remarketing is taking
Huge
all
difference.
of those view through attributions and also claiming sales that email or SMS actually drove. And I think it's a lot worse than people realize. And I think people that can figure that out and really use the platforms for what they're intended for and what the big dogs are doing are going to have that competitive advantage. So if there's a moral to this story, it's that and adopt a 90-day payback period and acquire customers at a 3-to-1, right? So you have a 3-to-1 90-day LTV to acquisition costs, and watch your MER go up.
Yeah, that's smart. I know that's been a big thing for people that were running info products previously. They were really looking at cash collected revenue over like 3 months, just so you could really scale.
Yeah.
Maybe one more question that's this kind of like borrowed from Tim Ferriss. He has this question where he always ends his podcast on: if you could put a billboard in New York City in the busiest street, what would that billboard say?
It's a good question. I mean, I would probably, just to be honest with you, Motif Digital. We help D2C brands acquire customers at scale.
The best option, the best option. So,
Yeah.
Of course. Like we're asking a media buyer question like that. What other answer could we expect? No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Jordan. It was a nice episode. Loved it. I think the people who are gonna listen to it, if they don't take value from it, you gotta listen again. You weren't listening close enough.
Rewind
it was a
it.
pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. If you thought this episode was valuable, share it with a friend that might find this information useful and leave a 5-star review so we can reach more influential people and bring lessons back to you. Now, I'll see you in the next episode.